Welcome to Privacy Trainer's Privacy Definitions. Now, let's continue our alphabetical journey through key privacy terms, focusing on those beginning with the letter E from encryption, a method of converting information into a secure format for protection, to end-to-end encryption, a communication system where only the communicating users can read the messages. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's dive in. E-authentication. In the digital age, as more citizens access government services online, verifying identities becomes crucial. Agencies are tasked with evaluating electronic transactions to ensure authentication methods offer suitable assurance levels. E-commerce websites. Websites enabling online transactions gain unique access to consumer purchase data and payment details. This creates opportunities for personalized marketing but also places a higher responsibility on these platforms to safeguard consumer privacy. E-Government Act. This U.S. federal legislation mandates that federal agencies conduct privacy impact assessments for new or significantly revised IT systems to protect personal information. Electronic communications data. Under the e-Privacy Directive in the European Union, this encompasses three key types of personal data: communication content, traffic data, and location data. Electronic communications network. Such networks include all systems that allow signal transmission via wire, radio, optical, or other electromagnetic means. This category spans a vast array of networks from satellites to mobile networks and cable systems. Electronic Communications Privacy Act of 1986, an update to the Federal Wiretap Act of 1968. This act safeguards communications in transit and stored online, covering emails, phone conversations, and electronic data storage. Electronic Communications Service. Services providing users the capability to send or receive messages electronically, whether through wire or digital means. Electronic discovery in legal proceedings. Electronic discovery involves the exchange of information in digital formats, a process that often includes a vast amount of a company's digital records. Electronic health record. Digital versions of a patient's medical records that can be shared across different healthcare settings, including personal and medical history, laboratory results, and billing information. Electronic surveillance monitoring locations or communications using electronic technology, including video surveillance and data intercepts. Employee information. This includes any personal information collected by an employer, used exclusively for managing employment or volunteer relationships. Employee personal data. Under the GDPR, special rules protect employee data in the workplace, emphasizing transparency and the protection of personal rights in the face of the inherent power imbalance in employer-employee relationships. Employment at will. A policy that allows either the employer or the employee to terminate employment at any time without cause. Encryption. A method of securing information by converting it into a code to prevent unauthorized access, with encryption keys used to encode or decode the data. Encryption key. The tool used within a cryptographic algorithm to encrypt or decrypt messages, ensuring data security and privacy. End-user license agreement. A legal contract between software developers and users, stipulating the terms under which the software can be used and the rights of both parties. Enterprise architecture. The blueprint that outlines the structure and functioning of an organization, aiming to align strategies and technologies to achieve business goals. Enterprise mobility management. A strategy to secure and manage employees' use of mobile devices within a company, ensuring corporate data protection through various techniques like encryption and remote data wiping. E-Privacy Directive. An EU directive focusing on the protection of personal data in the electronic communication sector, requiring user consent for cookies and regulating other privacy aspects in digital marketing. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. A U.S. federal agency tasked with enforcing laws against workplace discrimination, ensuring fair treatment across various bases such as race, gender, and age. Erasure. Under GDPR, individuals have the right to have their personal data deleted when it's no longer necessary for its original processing purpose or if consent is withdrawn. Established business relationship. A criterion allowing marketers to bypass the do not call registry if a prior interaction with the consumer exists, supporting ongoing business interactions. Established service provider. Under GDPR, this term refers to service providers acting as processors who must adhere to specific legal obligations concerning data handling and processing. Establishment in EU law. Establishment refers to any effective and real exercise of activity through stable arrangements within the EU, irrespective of the legal form. EU Data Protection Directive. Replaced by the GDPR in 2018, This directive originally set forth principles for the protection of personal data within the EU from 1998 until its replacement. EU Data Retention Directive, a directive that mandated member states to store citizens' telecommunications data for a limited time, aimed at aiding law enforcement. EU-US Safe Harbor Agreement, an arrangement invalidated in 2015 that previously allowed for the transfer of personal data from the EU to the US, ensuring compliance with EU data protection standards. EU-US Privacy Shield, introduced in 2016 to replace the Safe Harbor Agreement, facilitating data transfers between the EU and US companies, though it was invalidated in 2020 due to privacy concerns. European Commission, the executive body of the EU responsible for proposing legislation, implementing decisions, and upholding the EU treaties. European Convention on Human Rights, a treaty aiming to protect human rights and fundamental freedoms in Europe, allowing individuals to appeal to the European Court of Human Rights in case of violations. European Council, an institution of the EU that consists of heads of state or government of member states, providing the EU with necessary impetus for development and defining general political directions and priorities. European Court of Human Rights, an international court established by the European Convention on Human Rights to ensure that member states respect the rights and guarantees outlined in the Convention. European Data Protection Board, a body that contributes to the consistent application of data protection regulations across the EU, providing guidance and clarifications on key issues. European Data Protection Supervisor, the official responsible for monitoring and ensuring the application of data protection regulations within EU institutions and advising on policies and legislation. European Economic Area, a zone that extends the single European market to non-EU member states like Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, which participate in the internal market without being members of the EU. European Economic Community, a precursor to the EU established to foster economic integration among its member states, which evolved into the European Union following the Maastricht Treaty. European Parliament, the legislative body of the EU, directly elected by EU citizens to represent their interests, with powers to legislate, supervise, and decide on international agreements. European Union, a political and economic union of 27 European countries that are committed to regional integration. The Union's policies aim to ensure the free movement of people, goods, services, and capital within the internal market. Exclusion, a process in data handling where an individual's consent or knowledge about the use of their information is not required or not obtained, often in contexts where data is processed without transparency. Executive Order 12333, a U.S. directive that outlines the goals and responsibilities of the national intelligence community, focusing on the protection of citizens' privacy and the lawful gathering of intelligence. Exposure. In privacy terms, exposure refers to the revelation or leakage of personal information that is typically confidential, leading to potential privacy breaches. Extensible Markup Language, commonly known as XML. This markup language defines a set of rules for encoding documents in a format that is both human-readable and machine-readable, facilitating the sharing of structured data across different information systems. Extranet, a network that links one or more intranets, providing controlled access to external users, often enhancing collaboration but also introducing security risks that must be managed through stringent policies and agreements.